Found an interesting response, this idea of temperament versus effort, persistence, environment. Because I've been reading Tracy Hogg's book. She's the baby whisperer, author of the Easy Method, E for eat, S for uh, E for eat, A for activity, S for sleep, Y for your time. But I'm actually reading the book, and it's very interesting the stuff that she writes. And so you think about the methods she espouses, like, when the baby cries, right? Don't rock them. Don't hold them for an extended period of time because you're going to teach them bad habits. You're going to teach them to depend on you. You need to teach them how to sleep themselves. So you pick them up, let them calm down, and then put them right back down before they fall back asleep. And, many people may say it doesn't work or this or that, right? And you may see all this stuff online. But if you actually look in her book and see how she does it, you realize, because I've never done it the way she does it. So she was first telling a story about this girl who she did like 20, 30 times. And then later, one kid, she did 131 times. She actually counts. Isn't that crazy? She did this process, taking the baby up, calm down, back down. The baby gets up again, fusses, up, calm down, back down. 130 times, right? I mean, who's counting by then? Well, she is. And it's like a few minutes each. This is literally a process that takes hours. It doesn't take... I mean, my wife says I get impatient. I pick up the baby, put her down. Cries again, pick her up, put her down. I'm done, right? Just let her cry it out, right? But, I mean, it's like when you think about this whole idea, I feel like it's really hard to differentiate what is effort versus what is nature, right? What is environment? Because the environments are so different, right? If you had means to hire someone like Tracy Hogg to teach you, and she teaches you methods, and she goes through the hard part herself, she's not going to expect the parents, I mean, they're paying like 15 grand, I guess, for a few weeks or something. They're not going to expect the parents to do this. She's going to do it. But, she takes you through the hard part, and by the time she's done with her 3 days, the baby could, just do a few times, right? But it's like the initial part, like 130 times, the next day may be 30, but you're like 130 times. Who could put up with that, right? And I feel that's the whole thing with our world and the world we live in. How do you know if it's genetic, just the way it was meant to be, nothing I could change, versus the environment? How do you know when you tried hard enough or when you could have given it even more? How do you know that for somebody else? How do you know when you tried hard enough with somebody else, like your kid? How do you know you shouldn't have done more, that you didn't do enough, right? I don't think I have an answer to that question. But I do know that apparently a lot of things work. You just have to have patience and know how to do it and spend a long time doing it. I think Malcolm Gladwell made that very clear in his 10,000 hours, right? My wife's saying she's much better at putting a baby to sleep because she's observed, spent 10,000 hours, and a calculator is like 10,000 hours. The baby's only a few weeks old, right? Less than 2 months. 10,000, that's like a year and a half or more than a year. So obviously that's not true. She's just making a joke. But I think the idea is effort. How much effort is required? And the thing is, we don't know, right? Tracy does this, the counting, so she could actually tell the parents how much effort is required. And I guess they get to make a decision whether or not it's worth it to them. But most of the time, they're hiring her because they're at wit's end, right? Because even if you're rich, I guess you don't just hire somebody for 20 grand, a few weeks, right? But this is like decades ago when 20 grand is a lot of money. So the thing is, though, in terms of effort, I think many of us don't know how much effort is required and whether or not we would be willing to put in that much effort. And that's a large part of the problem. For example, when I was biking up Mount Diablo, it's this one hill that just winds up and up and up and up for like 10 miles. I could have made it to top. My body's physically capable, but mentally, psychologically, spiritually, I was like, what is the point? What do I get at the top anyways? Right? I mean, who cares? And if you would have told me how close I was, I might have made it. Because I was actually really close. But nobody know how close because everybody's going uphill, right? So they don't know how close. So I don't know how close. I'm like, I don't want to do this forever. This is just stupid. But the thing is, Tracy Hogg was telling, okay, the parents, I did 130 times the first night, 30 times the next night, 6 this night, right? Now it's up to you. I've completed my 3-day stretch of staying overnight with the baby. It may be more, right? But she gives them an expectation so they know what they're getting themselves into. And I feel that's a large part of life, right? Choices. Like, you're not going to go to medical school and say, oh, yeah, this is supposed to be easy, right? No big deal. Or you're going to not train to be a Navy SEAL. Like, yeah, I could do this, right? There's a lot of effort, and you applied knowing that you are willing to put forth this amount of effort, right? It's not like you're going to apply to work at McDonald's or something. And I think that's the thing, that psychologically, we just like to know what we're getting ourselves into. But the problem is with a lot of things like training kids, nobody's told you, right? Like, you want your kid to be excellent at piano, or want to at least have her practice every day, right? How much effort's required, right? If you had someone to come tell you, oh, mom, let me tell you. So I have a lot of experience training kids to play piano every day. You're like, oh, you're a piano whisperer, right? So it's going to take you an hour every single day for the next 4 weeks. But afterwards, it'll get easier. Then the mom can decide whether or not it's worth it. The problem with life is we don't know, right? And that's the thing with so many things in life, especially with kids. At work, you can put a lot of effort, probably you're going to get a promotion. But with kids, you may not. Or, and I think the key is, it may not be that you put in a lot of effort, it's not rewarded. It may be you put in a lot of effort, but the threshold is actually even higher, and you never got there. Which is a sad thought.